50 years of design automation. 50 years, and we, the EDA industry, are enabling the greatest techonomic push-pull in human history. If we just could glimpse back at our industry and contribution from, let's say, 100 years away, what we would probably see is that we are part of an exponential rate of change that has never been seen in the history of mankind. These human leaps invariably are made up of a 50-year technology push phase, followed with a 50-year applications pull. Let me unpack this idea of techonomic push-pull using two periods in mankind, the Renaissance and the Industrial Age. In 1451, Johannes Gutenberg invented a machine using movable typeset. Combined with new oil-based paste, do I dare to say litho, and a growing availability of rag paper, dare I say silicon, and voila, the printing press was born. And literally overnight, we saw an explosion of the availability of books. Compared to only a few pages possible by a hardworking monk, these presses were able to crank out about 3,600 pages per day. An incredible change, really. And by 1500, a mere 50 years later, already about 20 million volumes had been printed. That's roughly a 10 to the third increase. Of course, initially presses were mostly used to create Bibles. But it didn't take very long for the first pamphlet to be published that incorporated a crude picture of a pope sitting on a toilet, which only shows how quickly techonomic trends can question the establishment and look at the norms of behavior from a new light. They also bring some degree of pushback. Just imagine the nobility at that time commenting, "Why do people books if they can't read? Why indeed would you need books if you can't read?" It's hard to foresee and appreciate the exponential impact. Wasn't it IBM's founder, Thomas J. Watson, who predicted that the world market for computers would be probably only 5? Or maybe more fairly, when I speak about Facebook, my own daughters immediately react and say, "Daddy, you so don't get it." It's true, exponentials are hard to predict and they're even harder to stop, and the establishment is rarely capable of doing so. After the initial technical push, invariably follows an onomic pull that is so strong because the applications demand and leverage the technology of the inventions. This is exactly what happened. In 1501, Aldus Manutius, a Venetian printer, started to print a more mobile form of books. They were both cheaper and smaller, and easy for gentlemen of leisure to carry in their pocket. Gentlemen like yourself. Now, I don't know if he called his format the Kindleless, but standardization and mobility of information, insights, science, entertainment, and even humor opened the European Western mind. It directly impacted human self-knowledge and the understanding of the surrounding world. The 50-year printing press technology push unleashed 50 years of economic applications pull. With an estimated 200 million books published in the 1500s, what we can clearly see is another zero added to that exponential. An equally massive push occurred in the Industrial Age, around 1750. This is between the patenting of the first 1-horsepower steam engine by Savary and the creation of the Watts-Boughton engine building company a few years later. Here too, the first 50 years were dedicated to crucial technical enablement. Necessary enablement, by the way, as the original steam boilers had an unfortunate tendency to explode at very inconvenient times. However, by 1800, advances in metallurgy, piston tolerances, and riveting had proceeded quite rapidly, and an estimated 10,000 horsepower were supplied by steam. Just 15 years later, this figure had grown to over 200,000 horsepower, leading to a 10 to the 6th exponential in less than 100 years. The technology push was greatly amplified by the application pull, a pull ranging from water pumps, mills, and industrial factories to the mobile apps, and here's this word again, of mobile steam locomotives, mobile steamships, and later self-propelled cars. By now, you can obviously see the similarities to our last 50 years and hopefully our next 50 years. Now, our exponentials, they're all called Moore's Law. And actually, I've always liked that name. After all, we have delivered more and more and more in unexpected fashion. And even if Gordon misspells his own name with a double O, it is true that his observation, which turned into a prediction, which turned into a law, which turned into milestones and schedules, which turned into never-ending EDA employment, was quite astute. While we can pinpoint the invention of the transistor to 1948, it is really the combination of Boolean algebra, digital transistor switches and storage, IC connectivity, the symbiosis of hardware and software, and I probably should have thrown in Shannon somewhere as well, that characterized the tech part of our journey. The similarities to the printing press are actually quite uncanny. Our simplification of vocabulary into only ones and zeros, leveraged by over 50 years of utterly unexpected manufacturing and design prowess, made possible the universal standard of information and its treatment. Moreover, we use the most advanced computers to design the chips that go into the most advanced computers to design the chips that go into, well, it's like the awesome Escher drawing, showing two hands with pencil in hand, each hand drawing the other one. To me, the ultimate essence of a positive feedback loop. The pathway to machine learning is well lit and well on its way. And we, EDA, are a key enabler to that future. EDA has been intimate with every semiconductor iteration, with every technical twist and turn, and with every premature death announcement of Moore's Law. Oh, sure, I recall users in the 90s complaining about the design gap and how EDA tools were not good enough. And it's fair to say we probably have had our own exploding boilers somewhere in the code. But today, our industry is absolutely on par with all the other disciplines necessary to deliver 14 nanometer and 10 nanometer chips. Not only have we mastered scale complexity, but much of what we do today is optimizing multidimensional systemic complexity. The hit rates for high-end, state-of-the-art chips in terms of first-time right are truly astonishing. So while we're at it, we may as well take credit for some of the numbers. Starting from 1 in 1948, a billion transistor chip is absolutely feasible today. That's 10 to the 9th. Take that, Renaissance. And by the way, our font size is 10 to the minus 9 meters. I like to see Gutenberg print that without smearing some ink. And we're clearly not stopping yet. Thanks to great contributions in the room, I do think that the FinFET is truly a breakthrough. It not only changes the performance power ratio of the transistor, but we can see single-digit nanometer manufacturing on the horizon. New applications will absolutely gobble this up, and on the horizon we can hear the great sucking sound of silicon coming. A great opportunity for us. Now, I can hear some of you already say, yeah, but is it not true that manufacturing is becoming so much more expensive? And design is definitely much, much more difficult. Isn't that going to kill progress? Well, this is why the notion of techonomic push-pull is so important. For starters, let's agree that we've entered the onomics pull phase of the digital age. Around 2000, computation and mobility massively converged. The internet standard became the lingua franca of not only modern technology, but of human knowledge accumulation and sharing, period. It's only a dozen years ago that the human DNA was completely sequenced. This created a map of life similar to the first map that showed the world as a globe in the 1500s. We're now on the verge of sequencing a complete human DNA for less than $1,000. Meanwhile, already innumerable studies are not only focusing on genomic understanding, but have already moved forward to driving genetic therapy. Be it in biology, health, transportation, energy, or big data, these fields are all experiencing their own follow-on exponential revolutions. Not only will everything be modeled, but gradually computational smarts will be introduced everywhere. Indeed, they all follow the EDA playbook. If you can model, you may be able to simulate. If you can simulate, you can analyze and verify. If you can analyze, you can optimize. If you can optimize, you can ultimately synthesize and automate. Following this, the modeling project that is the most daunting and the most promising is the one on the most complex computer ever, the human brain. You may have read that the Obama administration has launched a national brain modeling initiative. EDA is going to Washington. Even before this, brain research recently has made fabulous progress. For example, 6 months ago, probes were implanted in the brain of a paraplegic woman. They pick up brain waves passed on to a computer which interprets the signals, and that computer in turn then drives a robotic hand to pick up a piece of chocolate and put it in the mouth of the woman. This is possible today. Thoughts connected to sophisticated movement to satisfy an ancient craving. We extrapolate to 2050, sticking with our 50-50-year push-pull model, and there's no doubt DNA modeling, brain modeling, systematic utilization of sensors on and in the body will not only bring fundamental new understanding, but it will also modify who we are and how we function. The same will happen in the macro world. Sensors, digital dust, modeling and analysis will bring the insights needed to finally take smart action on global warming and the acidification of oceans. I sure hope it will also find the right balance between the utter loss of privacy and the most amazing shopping experience you can imagine. Here's my point for our industry. When we make chips just another 10x or maybe 100x higher performance and lower power, the potential new applications will be so groundbreaking that paying for the technology and needed chips will be merely a rounding error compared to the value created. For the last 5 years, semiconductors have been stuck at about $300 billion in revenue per year. EDA and IP are a mere 2% of that. Compared to the revenue and valuations of systems and application companies such as Apple, Google, Facebook, Baidu, and others, our industry is peanuts. Even in our industry, unfortunately, most people believe that Moore's law dictates that transistors at the next node always have to be cheaper. Let me be the contrarian and propose to you that the push-to-pull transition is the tipping point from strictly cost to value and impact. As we design true smarts into chips, as biology meets machine-based intelligence, the impact will be so big that revolutionary new applications will find the funding. Semiconductors and EDA are enablers. Semiconductors and EDA will grow. With another 10 to 100x, we are in striking distance of putting machine intelligence, smarts, into everything. Granted, these chips will be very challenging to manufacture, and they're also very tough to design. But we love tough. Tough is our middle names. EDA, extremely difficult automation. We will deliver. I was not personally part of the first generation of EDA, but I know and have met many of the humble pioneers that built our field. They're giants in my book, and actually a few were recognized today. I'm part of the second generation. I learned from the first one. And I know what it took for our industry to get to the most state-of-the-art capabilities and become the industry behind the curtain of high tech. Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction writer, wrote, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." Many brilliant people in this room have and are making magic every day. And incidentally, that magic can only be fully appreciated by the very colleagues in this very room. Just as exciting to me is the potential dedication and enthusiasm of our next generation. They're already enabling the pull phase of evolution. You see that in some of the topics. And frankly, I'm astounded at the rate of progress in simulation, synthesis, layout, fields that by now should have been completely exhausted with only minute incremental improvements left. On the contrary, innovation in our field continues at breakneck pace. I have no doubt whatsoever that we will carry the technical torch of human evolution forward. I'm thus privileged, proud, and passionate about our industry. EDA, we are the heart of high tech. Thank you.